Strolling through another sun-setting day, I'm feeling blue since the day you left me. Can't stop thinking about the things you said, the way you made me turn my head. Can't stop thinking about you, but I don't know what to do. I've been thinking about your face for so long, so that many things will change inside. I've been thinking about where we went, but I can't get over you. Nothing seems to excite me no more since you closed that damn door. I've been thinking about where we went, but I gotta look elsewhere now. I'm better now on my own. They say that time really does the healing. I'm better now with you gone on this never-ending road. Even though our time's no more, I can't forget what you said to me. Kinda wished we had happened, but I'm really glad that we're here. Though I've been thinking about your face for so long, long enough for things to change in time. I've been thinking about where we went, oh, where did we go wrong? Yeah, I've been thinking about the days for so long, wishing we really got along. I've been thinking about where we went, but I'm really glad that we're here. Oh, I've been going crazy every day. I've been going crazy every day without you, without you. I've been going crazy every day. I've been going crazy every day without you, without you, without you, without you, without your love. I've been thinking about your face for so long. Changing time. I'm better now on my own. Changing time. I'm better now with your face for so long. No changing time. So you can't carry on when the world beats you down.
All right, all right, all right. Let me slow down the music. Hey, hey. Good to see everyone. Happy Friday or Thursday, depending where you're joining from. Let me quickly adjust the camera. Yeah, that looks good. Welcome to another live stream. I'm going to be working on some music today, and today we're actually going to be doing something a bit more challenging, actually. Working through some orchestral stuff. It's probably a weaker spot of mine because I don't really spend a lot of time playing with, making full tracks with MIDI. Because I can't play the violin, so I have to rely on MIDI a tiny bit. So excited to try that and just see if I can learn something. So I've got a project that's set up already. I'll show you all. So I've already got this project here. So this is all set up. But yeah, first of all, how is everyone doing? If you're joining this live stream, drop into the chat. Where are you from? Do you sing? Do you make music? I would love to learn more. I'm going to be working on some music of my own. And, if you want to watch, if you want to kind of share some feedback, if you want to kind of join in, usually these make music sessions are pretty collaborative and we'll just, have some fun together. So in the meantime, let's talk about what we're doing today. So really for today, a couple of things. So I've got a little track here, and I've already started laying down some elements. But one of the things with MIDI is they don't sound that realistic. They often sound kind of, pretty garage band like. And so I wanted to see how I could make it even better. So I was doing some research beforehand, and then, things like exploring the velocity of the way, basically, how hard do you hit a note, exploring, the release, which means, do things just stop and keep going? Playing around with adding some more reverb, some delay, anything to kind of make the music a bit more realistic. Now, let me quickly turn off this piano real quick. So that's what I want to explore today. And then, if I can make this happen, I'd like to lay out some more elements as well. So let me show you what I've got so far. But yeah, how's everyone doing? How's everyone on this Thursday or Friday? All right, so let's see what we've got here. This is kind of the intro. I've got some little segments here. It's pretty rough. But this is something I want to kind of keep working on because I want to learn how to kind of build really kind of rich, full kind of orchestral sounds. So this is I see a few people have joined. Thanks for joining the live stream. Thank you so much for checking this out. Drop into the comments, where are you from? Today I'm actually working through a bit of an orchestral track. It's a song called Endless Night, and I might lay vocals down once this track is done. But I want to write something that has more of that orchestral feel, because I've always like Studio Ghibli, or things that you see in movies. They often have this kind of really full, nice arrangement. So I wanted to spend some time and learn this and get better at it. But the challenge at hand is, how do I make things that are quite MIDI based sound a bit more realistic? Because I don't play the piano. I do play the piano. Sorry, I don't play the violins. I don't play a lot of the orchestral instruments. But how can I make it sound a bit more realistic? So let me actually copy this across. And let's just add this in. So for today, what we're doing here on the side, oh, actually that doesn't look that good. Let's just do this. So we're going to explore some velocity, some release, and add reverb / delay. Now, if I was to choose an instrument, because I have to work through all of them one by one, the first one that kind of really sticks out is this. I want to make the sound just a bit more clean, the piccolo. So let's see what I've got in terms of controls. I see. Let's just play around with this. Wow, there's a lot of stuff I don't really know. If anyone has got any experience with playing around with MIDI orchestral stuff, let me know. I'm just trying to see how I can make it sound a bit nicer. So, actually, let me get my glasses for this. Let's see. Let's play this first thing. How do I adjust? Asking Mr. Google, release on sampler. check out some YouTube tutorials.
Hi everybody, my name is Mathieu as well. But if we
So I'm kind of just going through some YouTube tutorials at the moment. See if I can understand this. Let's just do how to make Logic stock sound more realistic. Let's go for online guide instead. Okay, okay, so a lot of people suggesting using a string library, but let's see what we can do with just the stock stuff. So one area to differentiate string sketches. Okay, yeah, I have that on my. So I'm just kind of listening to some examples. So basically, this website is saying how we can make strings that are played on MIDI. How do we make them sound more realistic? A big one is using a velocity ride. Basically, you notice how it's kind of starting quiet to louder, or basically like soft to strong. You can actually do that with a mod wheel, which is like, I don't know if you can see one of these things over here. So maybe I need to maybe I need to plug that in for today actually. But let's just explore just for a moment. See if I can do it without that. It's just very static, this one. So dynamics is a big one. Actually quite full. Nice, and then using the right reverb. Spike. Wow, okay, cool. So kind of hearing these examples is really cool because it kind of gets your ears to listen up for like what a a professional kind of sound is, which is so cool. maybe might as well. This is such a good article, actually. I love the examples that they provide. All right. So this is more plain, what's realistic. Okay, cool. So let's see how I can get the velocity right. So it's not just all soft or loud. So let's do this. So challenge 1, let's explore velocity, maybe with a mod wheel. And then second part, let's explore some reverb. So what they've said is close mics can make, well, basically if the strings is too harsh, I can basically bring down some of the high end and low end and add reverb. This will make it sound more balanced. Because basically, a lot of these samples are recorded really closely, and then what happens is you get these kind of harsh sounds. That's what they're saying. So let me see what I can do here. And it's probably the same with like the piccolo as well. Probably the same idea. So let's actually do this. Is there a way for me to adjust velocity without... So if I go, I want to adjust velocity with a mod wheel. Okay, this way I gotta go. So note velocity, yeah. So notice how it's just very straight kind of. So let's work through this. By the way, if you're watching this live stream, where are you joining me from? I know there's a few of you joining. Drop into the comments. It will actually pop up onto the screen. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm working through a track of mine. And this is like, very, very simple at the moment. And I'll give you all a listen. So it's a bit of like an orchestral track, and I'm going to lay some vocals over it. This is what it sounds like at the moment. Now, it's the challenge with this is right now it sounds kind of like a bit amateur. And the reason why is because I've done it through MIDI, it doesn't have a lot of the expressiveness that you'll see with like an actual violin. And so what I was recently searching just now is like, what are some of those differences? Someone playing, things on the keyboard versus an actual violinist done in a professional setting. What is the difference? So some of it is velocity. And that's what I'm tackling at the moment, because basically a real violin, when they're playing, usually if you hear them string, they'll kind of go like soft, and they'll gradually get louder, but in a smooth, fluid motion. But right now, if you look at my velocities, let me see if I can bring it up. It's all the same thing. So it's exactly the same thing. So I want to see if I can add some little more dynamics. Now I'm just trying to figure out how to do it though. Modulation. No, so note velocity. Can I draw it in? Automation curve. Okay, what does that do? Not that. Okay, that's not. How do I research this? How? Because I can do it with a MIDI controller. Over here, I've got that, but I just want to see if I can do it without. How to adjust Logic. Velocity curves, that's what I'm after, maybe. That's a better term. Logic.
And you want to keep the relative velocity changes on these parts, but have a gradual increase of the overall velocity values. Well, if you go into the section here, into the part in the piano roll editor, use A to open up the automation to the note in this case. Velocity trick number 2, velocity ramp, meaning to increase the average velocity values over time, not setting a straight line like a roll, but let's say you have this part here, and you want to keep the relative velocity changes on these parts, but have a gradual increase of the overall velocity values. Well, if you go into the section here, into the part in the piano roll editor, use A to open up the automation to the note velocity, and then you use the pen tool. I have that as my command tool, so I hold down command, press somewhere here, and then if you hold your mouse button, you can make a line, and the steeper you make this line, up or down, you can make the gradual velocity increase be higher or lower. So in this case, I want to go like so. Look what happens to the velocity values from left to right. They shifted to be slightly increasing the average velocity of the parts here until the end, which basically is like a crescendo. So if I select everything and drag it down, I can make this really extreme by starting from low and then use the command, the pen tool here, make a line that's really drastic. And now you will really hear that it starts very low and then increases in volume.
Cool, that could be cool actually. But I wanted to do it, the only difference though, that's for like, multiple notes being played. But if I want to do it on the same note, so like the same note, kind of getting gradually louder, I think that's something else I need to figure out.
Using the step editor to edit your velocity values.
Step
so instead of editing the notes right here in the piano roll with the slider or the velocity tool, clicking and dragging up or down, or using the automation lane and choosing the note velocity lane, and then edit the notes right here, you can go into the step editor. And the advantage here is that you see each note divided into its own lane like this. So D4 here, A sharp 3 here, only the notes used. And then these bars represents the velocity value. So some people prefer to edit the velocities in here.
There's different another way to do it.
Velocity trick number 6. Set all note velocities to the same value. So let's say I go into the...
So maybe a better one. How to crescendo on the same note in Logic. Volume, expression, and modulation. Let's try that. What is that? What does that do? Don't really hear it doing too much main things. Velocity, pitch bend, no. Let's just say MIDI volume then. But is that really what I want? So I'm really just learning a lot of things at the moment. Yeah, modulation is more than volume. That's right. modulation expression. Okay. As we adjust through modulation. Cool. All right. So, okay, physical control arm. Cool. Do that. But for now, let's just do it manually. So I'm going to go to modulation. All right. Let's turn it back on. So let's just say if I add a tiny bit of this, tiny bit of this. It's a bit quiet actually. So it's not sounding too natural at the moment. Turn this off. Got a lot quieter for some reason. Bring it up. Just the modulation. Maybe I have to do this with a mod wheel. Let's just go crazy for a moment. So now if I add the modulation on, it's slightly stronger, not as much of the effect that I wanted as well. So let's try this. Let's just undo what I've done. Below this stuff. Cool. Let's undo. Okay, cool. So let me actually try this then. So I'm going to grab this little tool. Plug it in. So now that's playing, and I've got the mod wheel as well. Is that doing anything? No, it's not. Okay, so the mod wheel is not adjusting. Use mod wheel. Learning a lot of cool things actually. This is really sick. How to set MIDI controller to adjust modulation. Logic settings, preferences. Oops, let's follow this. So right now I'm just basically setting up this little controller to ideally set up modulation. So there we go. If I go to this, preferences, general, let's just go through there. And then I want to go to automation. Oops, where did that go? On. Slowly move the control you want to assign. Okay. Quickly assign this. Cool. Done. That changes the volume though. That's not what I want. Let's have a listen to what that's actually doing. Okay, so it's gradual kind of fade in. I'm going to add a bit more velocity here. Be a bit soft. Cool. So I want to get it to control modulation set, not this. So you get MIDI controller. Let's turn that off, whatever I just did.
Hey everyone, this is Music Tech Help Guy, and welcome to part 44 of my ultimate guide to Logic Pro. In this video, I'm going to show you how to record and edit MIDI or region automation, specifically automation for the modulation wheel and other continuous controllers, as well as pitch bend. Now, you might recall from a previous video that pitch bend is not actually a continuous controller, but rather its own unique MIDI message. But in terms of MIDI automation, pitch bend is essentially treated just like any other form of MIDI automation or any other continuous controller. So in this video, I'm going to focus mainly on the pitch bend and
excuse me, I usually watch videos in 2x speed.
I find this especially helpful for synth leads like this. Before I get into the tutorial, I want to quickly tell you about the sponsor of this video, Boombox. If you're a music, sign up for a free account today. Melody track here is an ES2 instrument, and inside you'll see that there's already a modulation router that's pairing the modulation wheel to cutoff 2. So if I were to play a few notes on my MIDI controller and move the mod wheel, you'll hear this effect is already pre-assigned. Storage. Now in part 31 of this series, I demonstrated how to write in real-time track automation using your mouse or knobs and faders on your MIDI controller. So to do this, you have to press Shift-Option-K, you have to assign your controller assignments, then you have to turn on a live automation mode such as touch, latch, or write, and then you press play and you record in your automation. With continuous controllers and pitch bend, it's common for effects to be pre-assigned to these controls within a synthesizer or software instrument. So for example, this melody track here is an ES2 instrument, and inside you'll see that there's already a modulation router that's pairing the modulation wheel to cutoff 2. So if I were to play a few notes on my MIDI controller and move the mod wheel, you'll hear this effect is already pre-assigned.
Okay, this is cool. Let me see if this is done. No, it's not. Okay.
One thing that's a little tricky with assigned effects like this is you don't actually see the knobs or faders inside the instrument moving as you move the modulation wheel, but you can hear the effect. And then in the ES2, this is using a 7 semitone pitch bend range, which can be assigned right here. Now, this applies to other instruments as well, not just stock Logic instruments. Just open up any instrument of your choice and arm the track, play a few notes, and move the modulation wheel and see if there's an effect that's pre-assigned. A lot of Logic's presets have modulation wheel pre-assigned to various effects, and a lot of third-party instruments also have modulation wheel pre-assigned. Now, the other thing about this type of automation is when you press A to bring up your automation, it's not going to show up here in your track automation, but it's rather going to be shown as these gray bars on the region. You can view this automation by double-clicking on the region to open it up in the piano roll editor, and then what you can do is click here to show your MIDI automation or region automation, and then you can click here to select what parameter you want to view. So we have modulation wheel, note velocity, that's just the velocity of the notes, and then pitch bend. Additionally, if you want to view it out here in the tracks area, you can press A to show your automation, but what you have to do is just click here where it says track to switch this over to region-based automation or region automation, and then you can select those same parameters here, modulation, note velocity, and pitch bend. So this type of region automation is written into the region rather than track automation, which is sort of written on top of the region. So the first thing I want to do is to show you what this simply sounds like as is, and then I'm going to show you how to write in your own automation and delete the automation that's there. So I've got my pitch bend pulled up, and I've got the mod wheel pulled up. Let's give this a listen. So the tail end of some of these long notes, I'm dipping down the pitch with the pitch bend. I'm also adding in some just quick little pitch glides throughout the lead. And then on the long notes, I'm sort of opening up the mod wheel to create this, opening filter effect. Now, if I wanted to start from scratch, all I really need to do is click on this track, go up to Mix, go to Delete, and then select Delete Visible Automation on Selected Track. And I'll go ahead and delete that automation. Now, the thing with region automation with MIDI CCs is you don't have to use a real-time automation mode here. All you need to do is hit record and arm the track, and you can play in the CC or pitch bend on top of the existing region. The main thing you got to remember here is you want to make sure that drag mode is not set to no overlap, and you also want to make sure in your recording settings, so go up to Logic Pro, Settings, Recording, you want to make sure that MIDI cycle on and cycle off are set to merge or overlap. With overlap, you're going to have to join the automation to the MIDI region. I just prefer using merge because it just merges all of that MIDI automation into the existing region. So all I'm going to do is arm the track, hit record, and then play in my modulation wheel.
Doesn't show you how to set it though. This is articulation. Let's do this. Okay, that's not there. It's not really adjusting anything either. Pads. Okay, so it's already adjusting on the pads. So the pads work. It's just picking up something. Now, what is it picking up though? Was it moving? See how there's changes in the sound? But I can't get that to happen on the strings. So to get modulation on strings logic. We're gonna go on the deep end today. So usually I would make a little loop, a little kind of song starter, but I want to get a bit deeper today. Get a bit deeper because I want to start doing some orchestral stuff. So let's just do this. I could always do this actually. This would be... It's a shortcut to do it. That's pretty quick though. It's crescendo. Cool. There's all these different sounds. Oh, I need the same pedal. Let's see what that does. We've just got a sustain pedal. No, still doing that. Okay. So all I want, this is taking some time. I just want to have a long sustained note and be able to go from soft to loud, but I want to do it in a way that feels more natural. Because if I do this, I can get the sustain, but then the velocity kind of stays the same. But I want to have the ability to modulate that. All right, so if I go, let's just say if I do this, you know what, let's just explore on a completely new note. So if I record, cool. So I'm going to add that note. So add some modulation. It's very subtle. It's not quite the effect I want. Just hear them back to back. So with it, do you hear a difference? If there is, it's very subtle. Not as much as what I hear with some of the examples here. Because if I go back to this is what I'm trying to go for. Because if I look at this, there's a lot of dynamics here. For Logic's X string ensemble. All right, let's just do, maybe if I change that, let's just find a new instrument. String ensemble. String ensemble. I'm on mute. Okay, so that is registering something finally, which is great. Now, how do I set it to register the mod wheel? Modulators. No, okay. Oh, yes. So I want to do it through the mod wheel. Is that doing anything? No, that's not. Via the mod wheel. Once again, that's not doing anything. How to set up mod wheel string ensemble.
Hey everyone, David from Sunday Sounds here. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to replace your mod wheel with a knob.
Stage. Maybe this is obvious. Maybe I'm just missing something. How do I assign it? So mod wheel. If I can just get that for today, I would be so happy if I can just understand how to do that. Using the mod wheels for the jerky, not enough fade in. Sounds cutting out a tiny bit. Mod wheel. Cool, so it's awesome. I need to take a break soon. I'm just kind of getting stuck here. which is normal. Like I'm glad I got to do this on live. Sometimes when we're just working through music, you just get kind of stuck on the same spot, can't figure it out. But maybe sometimes you just take a bit of a rest and then you figure it out. And the crazy thing is, what I'm trying to do today is just so simple. I just want to basically play a note when it's sustaining and be able to adjust the modulation and volume. But weirdly, this technical thing is getting in the way, which is annoying. Right. See, if I was to hold this note and then move around the modulation wheel, it should adjust. But I can do this. This is fine. The pitch is adjusting, but the volume is not. So if anyone has any suggestions here, let me know. Oh, this is a nice sound. Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Random side thing. But let's get this. Oh, now it's modulating. But it's doing something funny. It's modulating pitch. Yeah, that's right. So what I want to do is, how do I get it to modulate the velocity? How to get mod wheel. What if I do this? This once again is a pitch thing. How to modulate something else? What will... Oh, crossfade. Okay, so it might not actually be like this. Might not be possible. All right, I'm going to take a break from this. I am doing a lot of research today, so it didn't make a lot of progress, but just understanding things. So apparently, potentially, some of the stock plugins I've got, they don't support modulation, which is why it hasn't been working. And so what we need to do is set a little crossfade that can help it clean up. But that is, it's cool, but I want to see if I can find another way around it. So I might have to I'm gonna have to research this a bit more and figure it out. But for those of you, I know there's a few of you who've been joining me for this live stream. Thanks for just watching me struggle, watching me just work through this. But the more I can understand this and get a bit deeper with some of these details, the more I can make some of these sounds more realistic. Because right now, Because if you listen to here, it sounds okay, like the arrangement is there, but the details are not there, which means, some of the changes in the volume, the expression, the velocity, and I have to explore the reverb as well. Some of those things haven't been done properly yet, but once I can get them done, it can make it sound even better. And I kind of want to do it without relying on. So a lot of the feedback or a lot of the stuff on the internet was saying you should go for a sample, buy a sample that will have this kind of feature. The only challenge with that though is I feel like, sometimes it can get very easy to fall for that trap and be like, oh, I need to have a paid sample to get them. But you don't have to. Sometimes I feel like, even for example with microphones is a big example of this. When I first started making music, a lot of people were telling me that, you need to have a proper microphone, and that you couldn't use something like an SM58. And then, for one of my songs, I basically used an SM58 anyway, and I just had to learn how to adapt with it. I think that skill of learning how to adapt and use what you got is more important for us as songwriters anyway. So anyway, I'm going to take a bit of a rest here because there's no point just banging your head against the same thing again and again. I'll explore my options here. Maybe I do need to get a sample library after all, but at least I'm glad I've tried. But thank you so much for joining me on today's live stream.